Hello, welcome to Board with Paint. Today I'll be showing you how to paint Battlecat from the mounted He-Man miniature from CMON's Masters of the Universe Clash for Eternia board game. If you want to see the tutorial where I paint He-Man, take a look at this video up in the corner. I've already primed the miniature all in black, followed by a spray of white ink from above to give it a zenithal highlight. We'll start off here with the yellow, filling in the eyes and painting all of the stripes on Battlecat. Yellow is one of my least favorite colors to paint because it has very poor coverage. So doing it first allows us to get a couple of nice coats laid down over the white primer. Battlecat's stripes are actually sculpted onto the model, making it pretty easy to pick these out. Again, yellow is a pretty finicky color, so you'll probably need more than one coat to get nice coverage. Next, we'll do a base coat on Battlecat's skin using Uniform Green. Here you want to take care that you don't get any green on the stripes. If you happen to make a mistake, just go back to the yellow and put a couple more coats back on. For Battlecat's armor, I'm mixing some Vallejo Model Color Silver with Citadel Khorne Red to provide a little bit of a reddish, purplish metallic. I'm also using this on the metal clasp on the strap underneath the Battlecat's belly. For the strap itself, we'll lay down a base coat of Mournfang Brown. I'm using Citadel Screamer Pink for the inside of Battlecat's mouth. Next, I'm going through and picking out all of the toenails with black gray. I'm also using this to paint the paw pads. And finally, we'll paint the teeth with Ivory. That wraps up the base coating. Now we'll move on to highlights. Starting with the skin, which is going to be a 50-50 mix of Uniform Green, which is our base color, and Scalecolor's Goblin Flesh. We'll apply this to the top parts of the tail and over all of the raised muscles on the legs, much in the same way we did the muscles on He-Man in the previous video. Again, I'm being very careful here not to get any green on the yellow stripes. We'll continue this highlight process by adding a little more Goblin Green and doing the same thing again, just covering a slightly smaller area. If you keep your paint pretty thin, it'll help it blend a little bit easier. To boost the highlights even further, I'm mixing in some toxic waste green. With this layer, we're covering even smaller portions. Just the very upper parts are going to get covered with this. With the highlights done on the skin, we'll move on to the stripes. For that, we'll mix some Lilith Yellow in with the base color Averland Sunset. And we'll apply this to the upper parts of any of the stripes. Basically, anywhere you highlighted the green, highlight the yellow right next to it. For example, on these leg muscles, I'm highlighting just on the tops of the muscle and leaving a dark spot in between. Now to boost the shadows of the skin a little bit further, I'm using a wash of Biel-Tan Green. We don't want to apply this all over the miniature, we just want to focus in on the areas of deepest shadow. That would be anything directly facing the ground and the recesses in between the muscles. I'm also using this as a dark line between the armor and the skin and the strap and the skin. Next, we'll add a bit of depth to the armor by mixing some black gray into our Khorne Red silver mix. I'm watering this down pretty significantly, so it'll be a lot like a glaze. For the most part, I'm applying this on the parts of the armor that aren't directly facing up. I'm also using it around any protrusions and ridges to accentuate the details. On these armor segments, I'm just keeping the shadow down near the sides and leaving the top untouched. Now to smooth out some of the transitions between the darker part of the armor and the light part, I'm mixing some glaze medium into our original mix and using that just on the transition between the dark and light areas. Here I'm wicking excess moisture off onto a paper towel. Because more paint is deposited where you lift the brush off the miniature, I'm trying to start in the shadow area and end in the light area. Next, we'll add some silver to the mix and use this to boost some of the highlights. This is going to focus on all of the edges and anything that is directly pointing up. Now we'll start to focus on some of the smaller details. Here I am shading the teeth with Seraphim Sepia. You can just put this over the entire teeth area. While that dries, I'm highlighting the strap, mixing Mournfang Brown and Cokum Copper. I want this leather to look old and worn, so I'm highlighting the edges and also using a stipple pattern to highlight the raised areas. Now I'll do the same process again after mixing in some ivory to boost the highlight. Finally, we'll bring it all together by applying a wash of Agrax Earthshade. This can be applied relatively thickly over the entire strap. Next, we'll highlight the toenails by adding some ivory to the base color, black-gray. I'm just putting a little bit of this on the upper portions of each nail. And here I'm mixing in a little bit more ivory to boost that highlight slightly. And now that the teeth are dry, we can reapply the ivory to bring out the highlights. That's most of the miniature done. Now we'll work on the base. You can watch my He-Man video to see exactly how I painted most of the base, but Battlecat has some additional elements, like these rocks, which I'm painting with cold gray. There's also these roots or branches that seem to be coming out of the ground. I'm painting those with Rhinox Hide. Next, we'll highlight the rocks using a dry brush of Ivory. To do this, take a larger brush, fill it with paint, and wipe off all of the excess on a paper towel until it's almost dry. We then apply this by scrubbing it over all of the area that we want to highlight. This results in a dusty, chalky appearance, which is really good for rocks. We'll then apply a wash of Nuln Oil on all of the rocks and the roots. We don't have to be very shy with this. We can slather it all over, just making sure to get it into all of the recesses. If it starts to pool thickly on top of a rock, just brush it away until it kind of clears off. I then applied a wash of Agrax Earthshade to the rest of the base, just like I did in the He-Man video. And that wraps up the miniature. Thanks for watching. If you liked this, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos like it. But most importantly, have fun and happy painting.